Surely will astound you, the amazing things you see. The cars are built to wonders work. How can such things be? A little science, a little magic, a little science, a little...
This is Fontroversy, a show that uncovers the weird and wild stories behind the fonts that just aren't quite our type. I'm Lena Hall, and I'm here with our producer, Sean.
I'm Sean. Hi.
You're Sean. That was very good.
Yeah, I'm good at doing that on command. This is something that has been mapped into my brain now.
Yeah.
Lena, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm enjoying the weather currently. It's been so hot,
Yes.
and I don't enjoy that.
We're back to winter.
We're back to winter, and I'm honestly okay with it.
You've wanted a return to the chilly times.
I wanted a return to the winter before I head back to the land of endless sun for the summer.
Oh, yes, because you are from California.
I'm from California. I'm from the hot part of California, too, because I'm from the valley. And it's always hot.
Yeah.
Always hot all the time.
Very dry, very hot.
Very dry, very hot.
A little desolate, if I'm being honest.
It's just sad.
Yeah.
Like... I don't know. When you see those like beautiful California photos, that is that is not where I'm from.
Yeah, there's about 100 miles on the coast that is taken from.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm from Las Vegas originally.
So you get desolate.
I get desolate and feeling like you're a million miles away from anything that looks like stuff like that. But yet people love to pretend in those regions that they are, so they'll plant like palm trees and stuff. And not really recognize that like palm trees can't freeze, but the desert does freeze.
The desert does freeze. So I think people underestimate the power of the desert.
The desert is quite powerful, and it will just kill you from being in it.
Yeah,
is sort of the thing. It's like kind of constantly trying to tell you that you're not meant to live there. Yeah. That it's a bad place to be.
What a wild thing that exists.
I mean, in a way, what it reminds me of, this place that, people are not really meant to understand, that people are not meant to be in. It reminds me of this typeface that's really been getting my goat lately. Tell me all about it. I've been thinking a lot about Wingdings.
I love Wingdings.
You love Wingdings?
I'm not gonna lie. I love Wingdings.
This is heartbreaking. That we already have a schism on microphone.
Schism on Fontroversy. You wouldn't believe it.
We're teaching the Fontroversy.
What icons do you think schism would be in Wingdings? I think maybe you'd have like a diamond.
Yeah, it would probably be a diamond. Maybe one of the fingers.
One of the fingers.
I feel like there's a bunch of the fingers. The bomb icon.
The bomb icon, yeah.
There's a creepy eye, I believe, also.
There probably is.
There's almost certainly a creepy eye.
So you don't like Wingdings?
Well, I'm very frustrated with Wingdings because I was thinking about the fact that, anytime you see Wingdings, as I've been seeing a lot, you get the problem of, I don't know what this is.
Yeah. No, that's so fair.
I was thinking about it in relation to a poster that was hanging around the art building, I think it was last term, where someone had set the entire poster in Wingdings. And it was a long block of text. And I was like, what does this say?
Like,
what is the message that... interesting. But yeah, like and it took me a long time to open up Wingdings and actually parse. I did. Well, I parsed out enough to get the message.
Do you know what it was like saying?
I don't remember, but
well,
if only there was someone who did, who maybe was a Wingdings expert and could tell us about that poster.
I would love a Wingdings expert.
Oh, there's someone at our door.
God.
What?
Whoa!
They very aggressively come inside this room. Who could that be that aggressively has stomped into our room, our open door policy room?
It's funny that you should mention Wingdings.
Oh my God.
Because I happen to be the official Wingdings expert.
You were just walking by and you happened to hear us talking about Wingdings in this dead-end hallway.
Happened to walk by and heard you talking about Wingdings and also complaining about living in California and Las Vegas. And I just want you to know that I grew up in the middle of a cornfield in Illinois, so it could be worse.
Were you directly in the middle of the cornfield? Like, corn on all
Honestly,
sides.
Might as well have been, because like you drive 10 minutes out from any corner and it's literally just corn and soy.
And you
Oh,
were a
no.
child at this time?
Yes, like
So-
I'm like a corn-fed prairie girl
You-
at heart.
Wow.
You were a child of the corn?
You might say I was a child of the corn.
Now, did that affect your desire to listen to the band Korn with a K?
Aren't they from the Midwest?
I believe they are.
I think they
are,
I think they
yeah.
are actually like Iowa folks.
Yeah, there's a lot of angry bands from the Midwest. Because
Yeah.
it sucks to live
I
there.
can think of some reasons
Midwest
why.
metal. So,
Yeah,
you're here.
I also heard you talk about a flyer you said you saw with Wingdings on it.
you maybe have some intel on this flyer, I understand.
Yes. So if it was the flyer that said "Solve the Wingdings cipher"
I
on
believe
it,
that is
Yes,
exactly
yes,
the one.
that was me.
Wait, it was?
Yes, that
I
was
did not
me.
know that.
I think this is the first time that because you've been in our classes for many years now, and this is the first time that I've known this, that you
Yes.
made the Wingdings cipher.
I made the Wingdings
You
cipher.
heard it here
The
first,
secret is
folks.
out. Okay, so the reason I made that was I was thinking about it, and I was like, I think it might have been like a few weeks before I made it. They had like those like mathematicians had finally cracked like the Zodiac killers
Oh,
cipher,
yeah.
yes, I heard
and
about
I
that.
was like, oh my god, he was born in the wrong era. He could have done his cipher in Wingdings.
Oh
But
my
then
God.
I guess they would have figured it out faster. But like he could have created Wingdings. Like, I don't know. Like, are those glyphs that he used? I don't know. There's a lot to think about there, a lot to unpack. But
That would be
We-
like a horrifying event in history to be like somebody was brutally killed and the killer left a note in Wingdings.
Yeah, well, I think we were when they announced in that new Batman movie that the Riddler was going to be a serial killer, and like that was what my worry was that movie was going to be, because the Riddler is sort of famous for bad jokes, jokes that don't quite work.
That's wild.
yeah, I feel like the one thing that like bridges us all together on Wingdings is that like we all get to revisit that period of our time when we were like illiterate.
Yeah.
Like we can look at a block of Wingdings and be like, yeah, I don't know what that says.
Yeah.
And that takes me back to being like 4 years old and like being in the car and seeing billboards and being like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
That takes me back to about a year ago when I learned to read.
Yeah.
you've come so far.
I've come so far.
But like also like think about a world where there's only Wingdings. Like imagine like there's a police and they're chasing you in the car and your license plate is in Wingdings and
Yeah.
they're like, officer, we have someone going 70 miles per hour. Their license plate is bomb, fax machine, finger pointing up, finger pointing side, Venus sign, and Virgo sign. Like I was just I couldn't stop like when I was like kind of thinking about Wingdings in preparation for like our chat today. I was like thinking about what the world would look like if all we had were Wingdings.
Yeah.
And like would we refer to each of those letters as like the thing it is? Like, okay, my name is like fax machine, bomb, and crossbones.
or
Yeah.
would there be certain symbols that represent like a whole word?
Yes.
Because I know that is a thing in both Braille and in ASL.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And in a lot of ideographic languages. I
Yeah.
mean, you know.
So you can have signs that spell individual letters, but you also have signs that spell entire like thoughts
Yeah.
and everything.
Imagine getting your social security card and it's all Wingdings.
Well, it would be so secure, except for if everyone
If
it's
everyone knew
only Wingdings, that's an
Wingdings.
issue.
Yeah.
Yes. I guess
It's
that's
wild
true.
that we get this special little card that's on the cheapest card stock imaginable
yeah.
when we're born, and then we have to never lose it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I should
It's a
laminate
bad-
mine.
Yeah.
It's also one of those where it's like, I don't know if are you supposed to? Like, are you allowed
Well, you can
to?
always you can get the lamination sheets that have like the smooth inside.
Oh, so you can
if you can
remove.
take it out and it won't be like sticky.
See, that's smart.
Oh my
This
god.
is-
We should compare social security numbers.
Yeah,
That's
let
a
me
great
get mine
idea.
out.
Show me your credit card.
Yeah.
Just like as a joke. Like let's just
For
see.
fun.
Yeah, identity thieves, you're not
Besties.
allowed to listen to
Yes,
this show.
no.
You've been
Besties
banned.
compare
You'll
social
be kicked off.
socials. Yeah.
But Lea, do you kind of know? It seems like you are a Wingdings expert. Do you kind of know like a little bit about where Wingdings came from, where it's from? Like maybe that will inspire me to change my mind a little
Yeah,
bit.
Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah, so actually like Wingdings was based off of dingbats from like the early printing days, which were just like little symbols that they would add to like newspapers and that kind of thing.
Oh, sure. I know some of those. Like the one that I always love is the index, the pointing finger.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where it's like start here.
Yeah.
Yes, I need that.
Very
but-
useful.
Yeah, so they were kind of based off of that. So they've been around for like the glyphs in general have been around for a while.
But from what I know, they like a lot of the glyphs that they use within dingbats and wingdings date back much further.
Yeah.
Yeah, it dates back to the medieval times with like illuminated transcripts.
Wow.
So these books would include symbols and like pointing fingers, like we said, and that's just called manicules.
Manicules.
Yes.
That's a very good word.
I need to get
Yes.
a manicule.
I was about
My
to
nails
say
are
you
in
can
bad
remember
shape.
because of
Mine are-
manicure.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Mani, I think, is the Latin root for hands
Interesting.
or fingers. I could be wrong.
one of those.
But I believe, because I also think like in Spanish, hands is manos.
Like the hands of fate.
That's exactly what I was thinking of, and I didn't want to say it. I don't want people to know I know that.
I'll take that hit for sure.
Basically, when I was thinking about Wingdings too, and I was kind of like thinking about, you know, bridging of languages and pictorial alphabets, I guess. I was thinking about like cave paintings and stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so researchers like have found that cave paintings date back to as far as 20,000 BC.
Wow.
But like written communication, like the true written communication happened many years later. So that was kind of around 3,500 BC or 3,500 BC.
Yeah.
I don't know. What would they have said?
They probably wouldn't have.
You're right.
It would be weird if they were counting up towards something.
Well,
They're like,
I don't know
something's
if-
going to happen.
I don't know if like our standard numbering system would have existed yet.
Well, like one of the earliest things that we developed writing-wise was numbers. Like
Oh.
writing as we know it in like the cuneiform system, like the sort of proto early writing was all about accounting.
Is that sad?
I was about to
Yeah.
say, that sounds kind of boring.
Unfortunately, we have
Yeah.
capitalism to blame for a lot of our writing system. But
Probably math too.
yeah, math too, for
Yeah.
sure.
But you were talking about cuneiform, the Sumerians, so now the people of southern Mesopotamia, or Iraq now,
Yeah.
they created drawings of everyday objects, and these were called pictograms. So this is kind of like proto-Wingdings, like the first ancestor of Wingdings were these
Yeah.
like pictograms.
And these were fairly representational things.
Yeah. If these were like the very beginning of Wingdings, like first inspo, first ancestor of Wingdings.
The mood board of Wingdings.
Yes. Basically the next part of the trajectory here to Wingdings was hieroglyphics.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which like Lena, you mentioned a little bit like the eye and stuff.
Mhm.
So in like 3100 BC, I'm like, should I say I can't decide now because I'm not from that time period. If I should say 3100 or 3100.
Luckily I am, because
Okay, perfect.
I'm an eternal being.
You said I'm actually mummified right now.
Yeah.
Hieroglyphics. Yeah. So, you know, these hieroglyphics, they showed symbols representing thoughts and ideas. These drawings were a little bit more complex than the pictograms. So they're called ideograms.
Yeah.
And this was when it kind of started to look more like an alphabet. Yeah.
And-
More
And what
complex.
What we're familiar with as an alphabet.
Yeah.
So like these, so kind of during the medieval times, the big thing was religion, and so like a lot of yeah.
You know about religion?
I actually don't. I'm like the worst person to ask about religion. Yeah, but my parents were just like, yeah, we're not taking you to church. Sorry, we just don't care enough. So I'm not the right person to ask about that. But I mean, what I am the right person to ask about is the design that was going on within these religious texts.
Yeah.
Because
Illuminated manuscripts.
there's illuminated manuscripts, so we've got a lot of type coming out of this. Like if you've ever heard of like Old English or like black letter, that is from those times.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
a lot of those choices are kind of like, I always like to point to students as like, that's the inspiration for, those letters that are combined.
Because they would have those long serifs that kind of connect.
Yes,
Yeah.
like the ampersand, but also all the other ligatures that we see every day. That's them trying to streamline their process. So like black letter is them like realizing like, oh, if I twist the pen this way and then this way,
And,
then I can
they were
produce
doing
consistent
all of
form.
this completely by hand.
Yeah.
My teacher for my medieval art history class would be so happy right now that I remember this stuff. I don't remember her name, but
You're
shout out.
synthesizing knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is kind of like a debate topic, but like a lot of people think that kind of the first zines were like religious pamphlets.
That
Okay,
that makes
that's
sense.
very. I could see. Yeah.
Yeah.
That I get that.
Small publications, self-made.
Yeah,
Mhm.
they were like little prayer pamphlets, and people would just like make them as passion projects and pass them out. And people were like, heck yeah, because that was very on brand for the time. But yeah, and then, we went from religion to like the punk zine Sniffin' Glue. It was just directly one after the other consecutive there.
Well, in a lot of ways, that's the same track that the risograph takes.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
they started off in
absolutely.
church basements making newsletters, and now they're making zines for all of us.
And
Yes.
Yeah.
The next big thing was like the dingbats that I talked about
That was
earlier.
Yeah.
Herman Zapp.
Yes.
Yes.
Was he? But he's done some other fonts as well. Like he's a no name around these parts.
Yes.
Is Zapfino?
Yes,
it is.
Yes.
Indeed.
He also did like Palantino.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some well known ones.
Palantino sounds like a crime family last name.
It
Like-
absolutely does.
Like they were like, we got the RICO charges on the Palatino family. Palantino.
Yeah.
Gabrazi
It was-
with
it-
the fishes.
Maybe just because I
You're
guess
welcome
it sounds
for
similar
your
to
daily Godfather reference.
maybe just because it sounds similar to like the Gambino crime family. Like yeah, my brain can't distinguish the two.
So moving past dingbats, that's kind of like the catalyst for Wingdings.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Do you know who were the makers of Wingdings?
Yeah.
Yes. So it was actually a couple. So Charles Bigelow and Chris Holmes, not related to the Bigelow tea or to Katie Holmes, if anyone's wondering.
I was wondering.
I was thinking Elizabeth Holmes.
Oh,
Oh, I hope they're not related to
No,
Elizabeth.
she's
Oh.
the what's the really terrible like biomedical
oh,
company?
the
fraud,
the blood fraud lady.
the blood fraud lady,
Sorry, that's like the only way. Like,
Elizabeth Holmes.
Wow.
like my brain has to have like tags. It's like hashtag blood, hashtag fraud. That's how I can remember her or something.
The blood fraud lady does sound like a documentary that'll be on
Yeah.
Hulu in 2 months about her.
Yes.
Well,
Though-
I think she's about to go to jail.
Yeah. The devil works hard, but like Hulu true crime documentary makers work harder.
I did watch the Hulu Dropout series, and that is about her. And
Oh,
it's very
yeah.
good.
Oh.
Kate said that was good.
Yeah, it has Amanda Seyfried.
Seyfried.
I don't know how to say her
Seyfried.
last name.
That's one of those like debate topics too, is how to say that
last
chick's
name.
last name. Yeah. 'Cause-
You know Karen from Mean Girls.
Yeah.
So Chris Holmes and Charles Bigelow.
Yes. So they were a husband and wife. Not sure if they still are. Hope they are.
I think they might be.
But yeah, and so they were working for Microsoft, and Microsoft just kind of wanted some types of like symbols that people could use in like Microsoft Word and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's probably an economical choice for them too, because like in early computer systems, like memory is so precious.
Yeah, and images could take up a whole lot of room.
Yeah.
So if you have things that are already programmed into the system that can just work as if they're fonts.
Yeah, fonts take up hardly any space at all.
Yeah,
So-
we know that because we have a billion fonts on our computer.
Yeah.
When you have a billion, then they take up a lot of space. But
Yeah.
just one
I'm
is
pretty
very
sure
small.
I have like 1,700 fonts on my
That's
computer.
not a billion.
All of our
Yeah.
computers
Catch
are
up.
doing quite
I was-
poorly
I
due to
was
the number
like-
of fonts we have.
I was like, oh my god, that's so many. That's like a town of fonts. Font town.
Did
Fontville.
did the couple that made Wingdings, were they known for like any other fonts?
So this was Wingdings was initially developed in 1990, and it was combining glyphs from the Lucinda icons, which Lucinda.
Yeah.
I always want to say Lucinda because that's like the name
Yeah.
of the like fairy godmother from Ella Enchanted.
It is.
Anyway.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
I forgot
my
about
mind.
that
Deep
movie.
cut.
I have the mind of a
I
10-year-old from 2008.
Loved that movie.
Um,
Some good Anne Hathaway.
it is a great movie, honestly. Anne
And
Hathaway's
it
best.
has that really good ending when they sing the Elton John "Don't Go Breaking My Heart,"
Oh,
and that's wonderful.
Aw.
my dad pirated that movie for me. I like loved it so much. I was like, Dad, I need this.
So many hours on Kazaa.
Yes.
So this was kind of based off of their existing
Yes.
typeface they
So,
already made.
Based off of Lucida, would be cuter if it was Lucinda, but it's fine. And these like Lucida had recognizable shapes like arrows and stars, symbols of the zodiac, index or manicule signs, hand gestures and ampersands.
Kind of just a medley of these old printers' glyphs and symbols
Yeah.
that they thought they might be able to use for other things.
Yeah. But basically, like, Wingdings was made because Microsoft wanted people with personal computers to have an easy way to communicate with symbols, just represented through letters on the computer keyboard, so not needing like a whole other keyboard or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like another thing about this time was like people also just started getting like printers, fax machines, that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So there was like we might all know like the little like printer and fax icons and
Yeah.
like the email icons. Yeah, it's really interesting because those are very reflective of the times. Like that, like we didn't have social media. We were all like still high on email at that time.
Yeah.
So,
You've got mail
yeah.
with Tom Hanks.
And then after that we got AIM, and that was like life changing. That altered my brain chemistry personally. But yeah, I loved AIM. But yeah, no, so it's really reflective of the time. But there are other things in Wingdings that are reflective of the creators themselves. So besides the icons that we got from the Lucida font, there were also things like Bigelow and Holmes had a garden. If you've ever looked at the Wingdings flowers, first of all, they're really cute. But second of all, they're based off of some of the flowers from their garden, which I
Wow.
thought
That's
was
so
really
cute.
cute.
That's
I
wild.
love that.
Yeah.
This thing that is on all of our computers has this lovely little representation of their personal lives right there embedded in
Well,
it.
I also wanted to do a little shout out because I recently learned that Chris Holmes, one of the creators, taught at PSU.
What? Really?
Wow.
Yeah, she did. I think she might have done graphic design. She taught at a lot of different places as a graphic design professor, but one of those places was PSU.
Wow.
Wow.
This is news
And
to me.
I saw that and I was like, there's no way we can't bring this up.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that's so cool.
That is so cool. PSU has had like a lot of
In these hallowed
really
halls.
like
we don't have hallowed halls.
we have moldy halls.
We have moldy halls.
and
That's
Moldy's
my-
a kind of Halloween.
That is my
Rat
my
infested.
older brother's name, Moldy Hall. It's
But
wow.
we
that's-
have a
that's
lot of
that's a good joke.
cool people who have taught here and who continue to teach here. Like the Nike logo was drawn by a PSU student.
Sure
Yes,
was.
Carolyn
Yeah.
Davidson.
Oh yeah.
In the current Faribault's Massey Hall, then Newburger Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
It's now an old burger.
yeah.
Sorry.
That burger's too stale.
That's good.
That's
Thank
one of
you.
those McDonald's hamburgers that's like embedded in plexiglass.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I've
So you
seen
can just
that
watch it
YouTube video
age.
too, Sean.
Oh, it's
yeah.
pretty gruesome.
They have the Twinkie one too. So Wingdings has a family, much like the Duggars.
Much like the Duggars.
There's a big Wingdings family. So there's Wingdings, and Wingdings is actually like named because they combined dingbats, which is what we were talking about with the like manicules, the early newspapers, and a combination of windows. So Wingdings.
It has a good ring to it.
Yeah.
I
never made
like
that connection.
Wingdings is a fun name.
It is very fun to say.
And it's memorable.
It's unusually fun too for Microsoft, a company that is
Right?
allergic to fun,
Well,
especially in that era.
Also because at the time when they were releasing a lot of those typefaces, it was like a lot of boring type.
What could be boring about Tahoma? The most exciting typeface there is, and
then you
definitely
had-
different than Verdana.
Yeah, and then you have Wingdings, which is just like so fun.
So Wingdings was created in 1990, and then there was in 1997. I was created, but also so was Webdings.
A banner year.
Yes. Yeah, so Webdings was basically like, so we heard you guys liked Wingdings, so we came out with Webdings, which
Is this Wingdings for the internet?
yes. So this was so the Webdings was also integrated into the Windows systems at this point too. But Webdings had more to do with the internet because, you know, in 1990, the internet wasn't quite as fleshed out yet. But in 1997, people were like, have you seen this thing called the internet? I'm on this all the time.
Yeah.
So
That was probably about the time that I got on.
Yeah.
Off of AOL and discovered like, oh, there's this whole other thing. Wow.
Yeah.
I can't relate to this notion.
Lena
That's a good
wasn't
thing.
born yet.
I wasn't born yet.
Oh my
Lena was
gosh,
just
really?
dating.
I am a 2001 baby.
Yeah.
You didn't know the 90s at all.
I didn't know the 90s at all.
But you have such
I mean,
a 90s vibe
oh no,
to you.
what are we talking about? I am an eternal being.
Yeah.
I was,
Oh, yeah.
I was
Well, it's,
I was there.
You went around
was,
the
like,
long
cycling.
way.
You
Yeah.
were cryogenically frozen at this
cryogenically frozen.
at
with
this
Walt
point.
Disney.
Yes,
Yeah,
with Walt Disney.
How's Walt doing, by the way?
Anyway, I got a good chuckle out of Sean for that one. Let's talk about who uses Wingdings.
Yeah, where is Wingdings actually
where
been
is Wingdings?
used that's useful?
David Carson was hired
Oh.
to
Yeah.
design Ray Gun, which is an American alternative music and lifestyle magazine.
Very big in the 90s, the era in which we both lived.
Yes, we were living.
I don't know why this has become the topic of continue.
But anyway, so that magazine debuted in 1992 in California. But in one issue, he notoriously used dingbats as the font because the interview he thought was kind of like boring. And then it was an
That's
interview with
why-
with
that's
Brian
so-
Ferry.
That's like such intense shade.
It's
It is.
That feels like
interviewee.
dirty pool to me in
That's like-
design.
yeah.
I don't
Is
like
that
it.
unethical design?
I think it might
Like
be.
you were so boring to talk to. I'm not even gonna put this in like an understandable font.
Maybe I'm
Yeah.
an unethical person because I thought it was kind of genius.
like I get it.
Yeah.
Would I do it myself? I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll just
Yeah.
have to find out.
We've all been there.
I don't-
We've all considered.
I don't know if I'd be
Oh, yeah.
offended. I don't even think I'd be offended if
Well-
I was the interviewee. I'd be like, honestly, work. Like,
Well,
yeah, I will
yeah.
decode this.
I mean, that is the thing is that's probably the part of Reagan magazine besides like just the overall design that gets talked about the most. That one
Yeah.
article.
Yeah.
He kind of Streisand affected it.
Yeah, exactly. No, he really did make an impact because, I mean, like,
Not like the font.
I think like
No.
something that's important about design is that like there's design that's meant to be looked at and there's design that's supposed to just kind of blend into the background and have a
Mhm.
functional purpose. And I think, you know, when we're looking at text all the time, most body copy tends to look about the same. You know, you either have a serif or a sans serif and it's like pretty easy to read.
Yeah.
So like our eyes don't really, I mean, as designers and people who are interested in type, we might pay more attention to it, but most people just kind of like look at that stuff. So to completely change that is definitely disrupted the entire issue of the magazine and really the whole culture of the magazine itself, because like you said, that's one of the most like infamous or famous, however you view it, like articles that they ever wrote.
I mean, this is also the era in which, our field, graphic design, is known primarily as communication design. Like, we are conduits for communicating other people's ideas through what we do. So to really go against that and think of this article more graphically kind of feels like stepping into this other era.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring something up.
Okay, bring that
Please.
up.
Would you say that Wingdings was almost like a catalyst for emojis?
So I personally think that it was. And that is something where it's like people kind of debate whether they think Wingdings and emojis are kind of like in the same Duggar family. That I was referring to. Before we started recording, I was saying that fonts with big font families are kind of like the Duggars, but like of fonts. So that's why I keep bringing that up. But basically, like for me personally, I do think of Wingdings and emojis in the same sphere because like you're using symbolism to represent something. And what's also interesting is that a lot of emojis are made for a specific purpose, but they end up being used for other purposes. So for example, like the crying emoji where it's like tears streaming down the face, like that was meant for people to be like, I'm crying. But people use it to be like, this is so funny, I'm crying.
Yeah. I know there was a big series of news articles last year in the vein of people my age realizing that people your age communicate differently than them. A long-standing journalistic practice that we all love. We all love reading those articles. But like they were about like how, the laughing emojis weren't being used by your generation
Yeah.
anymore.
No, it's like-
Now it's the skeleton.
My
And-
19-year-old
Yeah.
sister told me I was Cheugy for using that. And
Yeah.
also, I also used the like tilted laughing emoji, which apparently also...
It's like considered very cringy.
Yeah, that I
Wow.
guess
As
also has
someone who
been
was
like...
Born in the 2000s.
Yeah, as the cool person in
as
the room.
As the cool person, as the cool young person in the room. Yeah, like you, instead of using the laughing emojis, you use the skull emoji to say like, oh, I'm dead. Like that was so
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
My sister told me that when I use the like 45-degree angle tilted laughing emoji that it ages me. And
I
That's
actually
wild.
unironically do like the instead of emojis, I'll actually like type out the little the little face you would do.
Oh,
It's
it's
like
emoticons.
like the emoticons.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I do that unironically.
emoticons
I would
were
love those to come
also
back.
like, yeah, we were into emoticons too. Like that was I remember the XD days.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, that kind of reminds me moving more into like the 2000s of like copy pasta,
Mhm.
which was a really big thing I think on YouTube, and that's kind of
Yeah.
when I started delving into the internet. But there would be I know a really really infamous one. And I showed this to some of my friends and they didn't know it, so I don't know how well known it is for people my age. But the This Is Bob army.
Oh my god.
I don't know
yeah.
this.
It was a really big thing on YouTube in the early days of YouTube. But it was like a copy pasta, by the way, for those who don't know, is like something people would copy and paste all over the internet. And it would just kind of like overload all comment sections and everything.
Just
it would be a little. It was
proliferation
always pretty
virally.
obnoxious.
Yeah.
But it was like a little guy, and he just had his hand up, and it was in like Unicode. And
Just
it
a
would say
little
like
guy?
it was just a little guy.
Aw.
And it would say like, "This is Bob. Copy and paste me so he can take over YouTube."
Wait, okay, no, I totally remember this.
But then it evolved, so he would be in like a helicopter
Oh my
or like a
goodness.
tank.
Wow.
And this was like very intricately done, and it was just like so wild to me. And it would be all over YouTube.
Wow. Yeah, I think I do. I actually do remember that. I feel like if you go back to like one of those 2009 YouTube videos, and if you can even do this, go back to like the earliest comments, I'm sure you could find those
Oh.
still.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because I remember they were like everywhere.
Wow.
I also remember like around this time, chain emails were also
Yes.
really popular.
Absolutely.
I made one before and like nobody like sent it around. So
Send
it's kinda
this to
sad.
10 people or
Yeah.
you'll be
What
cursed.
was the consequence of your chain email?
There was no consequence. Yeah,
Well,
maybe.
then
Well, that might be
that's
part
why
of the
nobody
issue.
sent
Yeah, I
it.
guess so. I should have had like a threat in there, but
That's what they were for.
it was like a quiz. It was like, oh my god, are you a nerd? Are you a goth? Are you like
could have been
preppy or
You could have made $20 on BuzzFeed.
I was just
writing
gonna say
listicles.
I
BuzzFeed.
know. Oh my god.
My
And now
grandpa
you're replaced by AI.
my grandpa used to send me chain email.
I
He would send me like you're gonna be cursed.
Oh my
And I
god.
was like, why would you send this to me? I'm like 8.
Yeah, I remember
Thanks,
there was
Grandpa.
one where it was
Yeah.
like add this up and you'll get like your soul age and like yeah, there's your true age and then there's your like the age of your soul
Oh my
or something. And I'm like,
Wow.
I'm 10. How old can my soul really be?
That's so good.
But
That's wild.
you know, like in regards to Wingdings, I remember there was this chain email that was very controversial, and it's so controversial that it appears on the Wingdings Wikipedia
yes,
Oh.
it does.
if you like look at it. So, basically, there was a chain email that was like, if you go onto Microsoft Word and you type in like the flight number for the 9/11 plane, what would come up was a plane and 2 buildings and then like a bomb and like
the Star of
Oh,
David.
yeah.
the Star of David,
Yeah.
something like
I
that.
remember this.
Yeah.
This controversy. Yes.
And so,
I mean, incredibly anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
yes.
And I don't know if that was ever proven to be true.
It wasn't. It's actually not true at all. I remember being a kid and liking it up, and it worked. But the reason why it worked was because they had the wrong flight number.
Oh, so they purposefully put them all
Yes.
together.
Wow. Feels very prescient
But
for our
it's-
modern day of dealing with conspiracy
Yeah.
theories.
Yeah, so
Or you
they-
could just make them up
Make them up
entirely.
because I
That's
mean
cool.
it's harder to find the correct information.
Yeah.
Like-
Yeah. So it was like if
Jeez.
you typed in Q33NY, it would be a plane, 2 pieces. They're technically, the icon I think is a sheet of paper, but I guess it looked like 2 towers, and then a skull and crossbones and the Star of David. So that was wrong because the flight numbers of the airplanes that hit the towers were AA11, UA175, and like even the tail numbers didn't match up to this. So someone
Yeah.
was just being rude.
Yeah.
But I think that in response to that, Microsoft purposefully made it so if you like typed out certain that sequence, it would now say like I heart NYC.
That's
It's-
actually a different.
That's different.
Oh, interesting.
So that actually was real.
yeah.
So what happened was in 1992, so literally only days after the release of Windows 3.1, it was discovered that if you type in NYC, what would come up was a skull and crossbones, the Star of David, and the thumbs up, which is pretty bad.
Yeah, that's a rough one.
I'm gonna say no to that one.
Yeah,
That's
especially
not good.
because, I mean, first of all, just like all around like gross, but people were really, really pissed off because New York has a really large Jewish community. So
Yeah.
they felt like it was kind of intentional. And so Microsoft was like, no, not intentional. We just really messed up. But they rearranged the glyphs so that wouldn't be a problem. And like you said, Lena, when you type in NYC, then it's an eye, a heart, and the city skyline. But
Oh, that's like a very I would say that's like an appropriate response
Yeah.
to that kind of like that's like a very sweet way to change it. It's just
Yeah.
like, yeah.
yeah, like I mean, I feel like if they didn't respond, that'd be pretty bad.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they were saying that like the final arrangement of the glyphs was just completely random. Like they weren't assigning like we want this glyph to be A and this one to be so.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's why they were like, yeah, it wasn't on purpose. Yeah, no. So it's crazy though that only after a few days people figured it out, which is interesting.
I wondered too if that is part of the reason, because I mean this predates the Unicode system. This is
Yeah.
back in the old ASCII
Mhm.
and similar character set days where if you want to do something like Wingdings, everything has to be mapped to a letter. But in the Unicode system, you know, there's the regular, you know, Roman alphabet that, you know, we use day to day, but then there's thousands and thousands of character spaces that aren't tied to any particular letter. And I wonder if some of that system is a response to this, like, you know, you could accidentally spell out this other message with this other thing that is totally coincidental if you're trying to just map, you know, this symbol onto another letter form that's in the ASCII alphabet.
Yeah.
That's so fast, because I think that also kind of ties into like emojis. Emojis are part of the Unicode system.
Yeah. So originally, Wingdings was not actually part of the Unicode system.
Yeah.
Which is pretty shocking to me because you would think it was.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until Unicode 7.0 that they approved Wingdings and Webdings.
So they're all in there now.
Yeah, they're
That's
all in
wild.
there. So I did a little research on emojis, and it looks like in 1998 the emoji was born, which is only a year younger than me. Oh my god.
Oh.
We could be friends.
Well, and it was like a Japanese like telecom system,
It sure
right?
was.
Yeah, so Shigetaka Kurita created the first 180 emoji collection for a Japanese mobile web platform, and the concept basically spread from there. So we all know about like emoticons, which were the colon,
Parentheses.
thank
Make
you.
a smiley face.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love those.
But the graphic illustrations from that like first appeared on typewriters as far back as the 1800s.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So people were
Wow.
being like, telegram for you, hashtag smiley face.
Oh my god.
That's wild.
That's crazy.
So it's not just a modern problem. This is something that we've been doing pretty much as long as electronic
Is it
communications
human
existed.
nature
So even
Maybe.
to make emoji?
I think it is.
Wow.
So like
Wild.
in a 1862 New York Times transcript of a Lincoln speech, it even contains the phrase applause and laughter with the smiley face emoticon.
So an Abraham Lincoln.
Yes.
Abraham
such-
Lincoln approved of emoticon.
I have such a hard time imagining the Times
That is
putting an
so
emoticon
crazy.
in
Yeah.
any article now.
It's kind of funny because, Sean, like, Lena, I don't know if you remember when we were younger and we were texting and we all used emoticons, old people would be like, why are you what does this mean? What,
Yeah,
all
the
these kids
And
perpetual.
now
these
they
days.
now they
Yeah.
all use emojis.
Yeah, and I'm like, your great grandparents were using emoticons, so
Yeah.
step off.
Wow.
Catch up.
But yeah, so like emojis, they were created in 1998, but they kind of just started like picking up popularity around the world in the 2010s when they were added to a bunch of mobile operating systems. So
And now we got them on all the phones.
Yeah.
like I don't know if anyone remembers, but like it was an app for a while.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think Apple only added support in like iOS 5.
It was.
Yeah.
It took a
quite
bit.
late.
And now they can move.
They can move. The terrifying Zoom moving emojis.
It's upsetting, but I also
Yeah.
kind of love it.
Makes me uncomfortable. But yeah, so in actually in late 2014, they approved emoji to be part of the Unicode system and called it Unicode Emoji.
Well, you can submit emojis.
Oh, really?
Yes, it is a process, but you can submit them to the consortium. And, you know, you kind of have to talk about how this is universal because it is something that is going to be on every device on the planet at some point or another. But they will consider outside proposals, and then you can have an emoji that you made as part of Unicode. It's a pretty wild thing to think. Like,
That's cool. I want to make an emoji.
it's this ever-growing symbol set. And in a way, we kind of have Wingdings to thank for
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. Thank you, Wingdings.
Yeah, thank you, Wingdings. I think, you know what I think? Maybe my mind has been changed. I think
Wow.
I feel like I understand Wingdings a little better from this.
It has so much depth.
It has so much depth.
It
It's like
does.
poetry, but
I've-
as a font. Like those flowers, they're from Mr. Bigelow and Miss Holmes' garden. And then like this generation that we've been in for the past 30 years of like technology evolving so rapidly. You can see all these historical movements within Wingdings and Webdings and now emojis. So yeah, it's really cool. There's more to it than it just being attached to a letter.
It really is. Well, I'm so grateful that you happened to be walking by just as we were talking about Wingdings today.
So just like off the cuff. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, thank you, Lea.
Of course, it just happened to overhear this conversation, and I just had to clear the air on Wingdings.
Well, thank you again, and thanks to all of you listening. If you'd like, spread the word by visiting Fontroversy.com. That is controversy with an F.
Wow. We got the .com?
.com.
Incredible.
You can find our Instagram there with tons of pictures of the work we mentioned here. Our segment producer of this episode was Lea Thompson. Our researcher was me, Lena Hull, and our story editor was Malia Masterson. This show is designed by us, the students of the Portland State University Graphic Design Program, as part of Sean Schumacher's Design 399 Public Design Communication in spring of 2023. To learn more about all the stuff we have at PSUGD, check out our website, psu.gd, or at PSUGD on Instagram. That's Fontroversy. I'm Lena Hall.
I'm Sean Schumacher.
And I'm Lea Thompson.
Don't be a dingbat out there.
Ding it.
Amazing.
I was working on that one for a second.
Oh, it's tremendous. It's tremendous.
Hey, Shooty, hey,